He has been emasculated by Meghan.
To a degree, certainly. He certainly lost a lot of the respect of the people and the people who were fans of the royal family. They certainly lost a lot of their respect, and Meghan has something to do with that. It's certainly the way she talks about the royal family as a whole, the way she talks to him and about him. There's certainly an element of people waiting for him to stand up and say, listen, that's the royal family. You can't talk that way, or you decided to be with me. There were certain things you were expected to do. But he simply just allows her to demasculinize him in public, and everybody feels uncomfortable with it.
Andrew Tate didn't just stir the pot, he flipped the entire royal tea set. In his latest tirade, Tate tore into Prince Harry and Meghan Markle with zero filter, calling them out as symbols of everything wrong with modern culture, fake victimhood, weakened masculinity, and a media machine too scared to call out the obvious. Whether you love him or loathe him, Tate said what millions are probably thinking but are too afraid to admit. Prince Harry is no longer the man he once was. And Meghan? She's not a misunderstood heroine. She's the CEO of her own pity parade. Tate didn't hesitate to question the media's obsession with race, calling out Meghan's use of the racism narrative as a strategic deflection, not a lived reality. But this wasn't just about two royal exiles. It was a full-on culture war. Tate used their story to make a larger claim. Strong men are being erased, replaced by a generation of performative victims, and Prince Harry is now the poster child for that downfall. For Tate, this isn't personal, it's symbolic. Meghan is the influencer archetype, Harry is the broken prince, and the public is being gaslit into pretending none of it is happening. But Tate's not pretending, he's saying the quiet part out loud, and the internet is losing its mind. So is Andrew Tate just exploiting controversy for clout, or has he actually become the accidental truth-teller of our time? Buckle up, because this story isn't just royal gossip, it's a front-row seat to the collapse of tradition, identity, and the very idea of who gets to control the narrative.
Feels to me like Meghan has really utilised that.
Well, there are certain buzzwords, there are certain words you can hide behind in modern society which people are not allowed to challenge, and it allows you to have ideas inside of a vacuum where you can develop these narratives that are never directly contested. And racism's one of them. You're completely right. People can just cry racist and you're not allowed to challenge the idea. And I stand up and say, I do not think that the problems with the public perception of Meghan have anything to do with her skin color whatsoever.
For Andrew Tate, the Meghan Markle debate isn't just a royal scandal, it's a mirror reflecting society's deepest denial. He didn't hold back when it came to Meghan's race narrative, calling it the most overused shield in modern media. In his eyes, the idea that public criticism of Meghan is rooted in racism isn't just false, it's lazy. She's lighter than me, he scoffed, and I don't walk around screaming about discrimination. Tate's argument is blunt. Meghan isn't disliked because of her skin tone, she's disliked because of how she carries herself. According to him, her victimhood is curated, her outrage is profitable, and her racial identity has been weaponized to shut down criticism before it even starts. Tate claims the media has made it impossible to question anything Meghan says without being labeled racist. It's not just about her, he insists, it's a tactic. Use a buzzword like racism and suddenly the debate ends. Facts no longer matter. Nuance is dead. And for someone like Meghan, who is in the business of crafting narratives, that's gold. But here's the thing, even Tate acknowledges that racism exists. He just refuses to believe that Meghan has actually suffered from it in any meaningful way, especially not from the British public, who he says celebrated her royal wedding with open arms. And that's what makes this all so divisive. Tate's words are sharp, but they're aimed at a bigger issue, the way identity politics is now used as a smokescreen. For him, this isn't about denying racism. It's about calling out how the word itself has become untouchable. Meghan, he argues, figured that out early and used it like a masterclass in media manipulation.
Especially the fact that she isn't even particularly dark. I find it very strange. A lot of the people who are standing up for her, I've seen many liberals, black liberals from all around the world who are standing up for her saying the race card, the race card. Why would you allow somebody to use the race card when they're not genuinely suffering from it? Doesn't that disrespect all the people who actually suffer from genuine racism?
Well, I think it does.
So do I.
Because there are so many contradictions in that Netflix series, because Meghan actually says the only time she ever experienced racism was someone in LA.
To Andrew Tate, Prince Harry isn't just a royal in crisis. He's the poster boy for a generation of men being stripped of their backbone. In Tate's eyes, Harry's story is less about love and more about surrender. Once a soldier, a symbol of royal duty and legacy, Harry now stands, as Tate puts it, as a man who's been spiritually broken. And the culprit? Not just the media, not just the crown, but the woman he chose to follow out of the palace and into California's glittery void. Tate argues that Harry has become everything society now expects from modern men: docile, apologetic, and painfully performative. He points to Harry's public therapy confessions, memoir sob sessions, and constant self-flagellation as proof that strength has been replaced with submission. And while the headlines frame Harry as brave for bearing his emotions, Tate calls it what he sees: emasculation. It's not that vulnerability is bad, Tate says. It's that Harry's entire identity now revolves around it. But what cuts deeper, Tate claims, is how the public watches it all in discomfort. Meghan speaks, Harry nods. She criticises the royals. He echoes. Never once, Tate argues, has Harry publicly drawn a line, defended his roots, or reclaimed his voice. And in doing so, he's lost the respect not just of royal traditionalists, but of men everywhere who once saw him as a symbol of grit. This isn't just about a prince losing his crown, it's about a cultural shift where masculinity is redefined, and men like Harry become the new role models. Soft-spoken, compliant, and constantly apologising. And to someone like Tate, that isn't evolution, it's erasure.
Calling her mum, who actually does have much darker skin than her, the N-word. But actually, Meghan said she had experienced no racism herself, yet she enters the royal family, and all of a sudden it helps her victim narrative to suggest that she's been a victim of racism. And actually, if you saw her wedding, I mean, the British public completely embraced her.
Well, if the British public had a problem with race, I don't understand how we have a prime minister who's darker skinned than her, a mayor of London who's darker skinned than her. It doesn't even make sense on any level.
To Andrew Tate, Meghan Markle was never interested in being a royal. She was building a brand. The tiara was just temporary. The title? Marketing gold. But once the palace stopped serving her narrative, she pivoted fast. Now she's not the Duchess of Sussex. She's the face of a wellness empire, a lifestyle guru, and a symbol of curated struggle sold in aesthetically filtered jars of jam. And Tate calls it for what he thinks it is: performative entrepreneurship built on manufactured outrage. He sees Meghan not as a victim of the system, but a savvy manipulator of it. The Netflix specials, the tell-all interviews, the memoirs, none of it felt organic. According to Tate, every moment was stage-managed for maximum sympathy and monetization. She's not trying to fix a broken monarchy, he argues. She's just using its wreckage to build a modern influencer empire. From palace drama to pantry goods, it's all content. And the media? They're buying it. That's what really grinds Tate's gears. In a world where image is everything, Meghan figured out how to turn victimhood into visibility, and visibility into value. She went from duchess to domestic goddess with American Riviera orchard, repackaging herself in farmhouse filters and linen aprons, carefully distancing from the headlines while still profiting off the chaos they created. It's not about royalty anymore, he says. It's about algorithms. Meghan doesn't need a throne, she has engagement metrics. And while many applaud her reinvention, Tate sees a cautionary tale, a woman who walked away from tradition not for freedom, but for influence. The only crown that matters now is digital, and Meghan wears it well. For Andrew Tate, the saga of Harry and Meghan is just a symptom of a much bigger infection, one where free speech is suffocated by buzzwords and public debate is replaced with ritual apologies. He doesn't see cancel culture as some abstract talking point. To him, it's a living, breathing beast that feeds on fear. Say the wrong thing about Meghan? You're racist. Question Harry's choices? You're a misogynist. Offer an unpolished opinion? You're dangerous. And in Tate's eyes, this moral panic is exactly why so many stay silent. He argues that society has been trained to tiptoe around obvious truths. If someone like Meghan cries racism, it's treated as an irrefutable fact, no evidence required. If Harry confesses to being emotionally shattered, it's framed as noble rather than alarming. The result? A culture addicted to performative empathy and terrified of reality checks. And Tate has no patience for it. He calls it slavery through semantics, a system where controlling language means controlling perception. What makes Tate's commentary hit a nerve is that he's not just targeting the royals, he's accusing the media, big tech platforms, and entire institutions of collaborating in this collective delusion. He insists the public is pressured to ignore their own eyes and swallow narratives that feel, at best, contrived. And the price of skepticism? Deplatforming, public shaming, and career death. Yet Tate's own survival is part of the story. Despite being banned, demonized, and painted as a villain, he's still here, louder than ever. Because if there's one thing cancel culture hates more than controversy, it's a critic who refuses to vanish. In Tate's worldview, Harry and Meghan didn't just leave the palace, they became the poster couple for a society that punishes dissent and rewards scripted victimhood. For Andrew Tate, the pandemic wasn't just a global health crisis, it was proof that the media could bend reality itself. And in his words, if they could convince billions of people to accept something they never personally saw, what else could they control? He doesn't deny the virus existed, but he questions the scale, the response, and most of all, the language. Call something a pandemic enough times, he says, and eventually people stop thinking and start complying. According to Tate, that's when the real danger begins, not from illness, but from blind obedience. He draws a direct line between pandemic messaging and the way media handles figures like Harry and Meghan. It's all about narrative control. Tell the public Meghan is a victim, Harry is a hero, and any criticism is hate speech. And suddenly, questioning them becomes taboo. Tate's bigger point: once institutions teach people to ignore their own senses, they no longer need to change the world, they just need to change the story. And the scariest part, he says, is how willingly people went along with it. Whether it was masks, lockdowns, or royal pity tours, the message was the same. Don't ask questions, don't trust your gut, and definitely don't speak out. Tate believes this conditioning created a society that's now too scared to say, the sky is blue, without checking if it's politically correct. For him, it wasn't about health or safety, it was about obedience. And if the public could be trained to accept a version of reality handed down by news anchors and influencers, then cancelling dissent became effortless. That, he says, is why platforms tried to silence him and why he refuses to be quiet, because once you surrender your right to question, you've already given up your freedom. Andrew Tate isn't just talking about cancel culture, he lived it. Deplatformed from every major social media network, labelled dangerous and stripped of his digital voice, most critics thought that was the end. But instead of disappearing, Tate tripled his reach. In just 2 weeks after being reinstated on X, formerly Twitter, his follower count exploded from 88,000 to nearly 3 million. The message was clear: you can try to cancel the person, but not the demand for a different perspective. And to Tate, that comeback wasn't luck, it was inevitability. He credits his survival to one key factor: financial independence. Long before he became a viral name, Tate claims he was already secure. That meant when the platforms pulled the plug, they couldn't pull the rug. No brand deals to lose, no bosses to fire him, no sponsors to beg forgiveness from. But what truly changed the game was Elon Musk. Tate openly calls Musk a hero of free speech, saying Musk's return to fundamental civil liberties cracked open the matrix. For once the gatekeepers weren't winning. That's why, Tate argues, his message spread even faster after cancellation, because millions of people were already disillusioned with legacy media, fed up with the constant moral policing, and starving for voices that weren't filtered through corporate PR. By trying to silence him, they amplified him. And he knows it. Tate sees this as a cultural turning point, not just for himself, but for anyone who's ever been silenced for saying the obvious. He believes the public is waking up, not just to censorship, but to the power of choosing their own heroes, even if those heroes are loud, flawed, and unapologetic. And in that equation, Elon Musk wasn't just a tech CEO, he was the battering ram that let the rebels back in. So here we are. On one side, Prince Harry, once the soldier prince, now a soft-spoken symbol of self-help and apology tours. On the other, Andrew Tate, bombastic, brash, and determined to tear down what he calls the illusion of progress. It's not just a clash of personalities, it's a battle between two worldviews. One says real strength is vulnerability, evolution, and empathy. The other says it's grit, discipline, and unshakable defiance. And caught in the middle, a public that doesn't know who to trust anymore. Tate's final punch lands hard. He says weak men can't lead families, protect nations, or build legacies, and in his view, Harry has become the blueprint for everything men are being told to become: quiet, broken, and easily steered. Meanwhile, Meghan, once embraced as a fresh face of modern royalty, is in Tate's eyes simply rebranding again. This time as a homemaker with a product line and a new kind of throne: Instagram. But here's the wild part. Whether you agree with Tate or not, he's hitting a nerve. People are listening, reacting, debating, because underneath all the controversy, there's a real question. Are Harry and Meghan symbols of a new, healthier world, or proof that we've glamorized emotional chaos and repackaged it as virtue? Tate, of course, has already made up his mind. He says the media doesn't hate him because he lies, they hate him because he says what others won't. And maybe that's why, even after every ban and smear campaign, he's still standing. So now the question is yours. Is Andrew Tate exposing a royal reality that no one else dares to touch? Or is he just weaponizing the monarchy to feed his own brand of rebellion? Let us know what you think in the comments, because this one's far from over.